All right, so today we're diving into something a little different, a little mysterious.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
mysterious.
we're talking secret societies
Yeah.
and, their potential influence on world events.
Hmm.
So we're using an episode of the Bunmi Knows People podcast.
Okay.
It's called Uncovering the Hidden Powers, the Influence of Secret Societies on World Events.
Right.
And we're going to see what they have to say about, groups like the Freemasons, the Illuminati, all that stuff, working behind the scenes, shaping the world.
Right.
Is there something to it, or is it just, a conspiracy theory?
Well, I think it's interesting why these theories stick around even today. You know? Like, why are we so fascinated by this?
Yeah. Is it just that people need an explanation for things they can't control?
It could be.
Yeah.
Some kind of order.
Right.
Like, oh, it's not just chaos.
Yeah.
There's a plan. There's some group orchestrating all this.
Yeah. Let's start with the origins of some of these societies. Because, Bunmi points out in the podcast that a lot of these groups, like the Freemasons, they didn't start out with this image of, like shadowy power.
Right.
Like they didn't begin that way.
Yeah, with the Freemasons, they started as like a guild of stonemasons.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Like medieval times.
Supporting each other, craftsmanship.
Right.
Like nothing to do with these global conspiracies that we hear about today.
Right. Totally different.
So how did that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How did it shift?
Yeah.
Bunmi talks about how over time, the members of these societies, they started to gain prominence in all sorts of sectors.
Yeah.
Politics, finance.
They get powerful.
So it's like, oh, they're all connected now.
Yeah, it becomes this network.
Yeah, and are they using that to their advantage?
Yeah. Are they pulling strings?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right?
It does.
Like, are they protecting their own interests?
Right. It's like that invisible hand idea. But instead of just, market forces, it's actual people with their own goals.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay, which one?
The Illuminati.
No, of course.
I mean, that's like, that name is practically synonymous with conspiracy theories.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, but first, let's just get this straight.
Yeah.
The Bavarian Illuminati, they were real.
They were real.
18th century.
Yep.
They were all about, Enlightenment ideals.
Right. Reason, liberty, all that.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets good.
Yeah.
The theory that they didn't actually go away.
Right.
They just went underground.
Still around?
Yeah, still around today, pulling the strings.
That's the juicy part, right?
Totally.
This cabal.
Secret masters.
Yeah, controlling everything, media, governments, pop cultures.
That's a popular theory.
All to push their agenda.
Right. The big question is, what is that agenda?
Yeah, and globalist gets thrown around a lot.
It does. We should probably unpack that a bit.
Right.
What does that even mean?
Like, what are they actually trying to do?
Yeah, who benefits from this so-called globalist agenda?
Good point.
It's a lot to think about.
And then there's the whole thing with the symbols.
Oh,
like, Bunmi talks about this in the podcast.
Yeah.
The all-seeing eye, the pyramid, popping up everywhere.
Everywhere.
Is that a sign?
Is it a coincidence?
Or are people just seeing patterns where there aren't any?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe artists just like the way those symbols look.
Right.
But the fact that they're so connected to the Illuminati.
It makes you wonder.
It does. It does.
Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy, you think?
Maybe. Maybe the more we talk about it.
Right.
The more artists use the symbols.
Yeah, even if they're just playing with the idea.
Exactly.
It's like a feedback loop.
It is. It is.
Okay, but here's another thing that makes you wonder.
Okay, get me.
Are these secret societies actually influencing world leaders and events?
Ooh, that's the big question, isn't it?
Are there people in power acting as, kingmakers for these groups?
Like, are they puppets?
Yeah.
Well, the podcast talks about the Bilderberg Group as an example.
Oh, right.
And they're not exactly a secret society.
Right.
But they're super exclusive.
Yeah.
And their meetings are shrouded in secrecy.
So it's easy to imagine, right?
Oh, yeah.
These powerful people meeting in secret.
Yeah, behind closed doors.
Talking about global economics, international relations.
Who knows what else?
Yeah, it makes you suspicious.
It does.
Like, maybe things aren't what they seem.
Right. What's really going on.
Yeah,
it really makes you think about, control and transparency.
Right. Like, how much do we really know about what's going on?
Yeah. Even if there isn't some grand conspiracy, just the fact that these meetings happen
right.
makes you question Who's making the decisions that affect us?
And are our governments really as transparent as we think they are?
Right.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
What does all of this mean?
Well, I think one thing to consider is how it affects our understanding of power.
Right.
Like if you believe that secret societies are calling the shots, it can lead to a lot of cynicism.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Trust in institutions.
Like that feeling that your vote doesn't really matter.
Right.
Like the real decisions are being made somewhere else by someone else.
Exactly. It can make people feel powerless.
But we have to remember, these are just theories.
Oh, they are.
As interesting as they are, we have to be critical.
We
can't just accept everything at face value.
Right.
Right? So how do we do that?
Well, I think it starts with asking the right questions.
Like what?
Like, is there actually any evidence to support these claims?
Right.
Or are they just stories we tell ourselves?
Yeah, because sometimes it's easier to believe in a conspiracy than to accept that the world is just kind of messy and unpredictable.
It's comforting to think there's a plan.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we sift through all of this?
Well, I think looking at the sources is important. Like, who's making these claims about secret societies?
Yeah.
Are they credible?
Exactly. Are they historians or journalists with good track records?
Right.
Or are they just random people on the internet?
Okay. But even with credible sources, you have to be aware of bias.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone has a perspective.
They do.
Right? So we have to understand how that might be shaping the information they're presenting.
And beyond just the source, look at the claims themselves.
Okay.
Are they based on evidence?
Right.
Are there multiple sources corroborating the information?
Or is it all just speculation and hearsay?
Exactly. It's about looking for inconsistencies, gaps in the narrative.
Asking tough questions.
Challenging our own assumptions.
And sometimes that process of questioning can lead to new insights.
It can, even if you don't end up believing the original theory. Right. So maybe we don't come away convinced that the Illuminati are controlling everything.
Right.
But we might learn something about how misinformation spreads.
Exactly. And that's valuable in itself.
So even though we're diving into this world of secret societies and conspiracies, the real goal is to become better critical thinkers.
It is to be able to navigate this world of information and come to our own conclusions.
Based on reason and evidence.
Exactly.
It's about taking control of our own understanding of the world.
Absolutely. Not letting ourselves be swept away by whatever narrative is popular.
Right. Being able to think for ourselves.
Yeah. I think that's a really powerful message.
It's like by questioning these theories, we kind of take back some of that control.
Yeah, and it's
instead of just feeling like things are happening to us, you know?
It's interesting, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like these theories, they just keep coming back.
Right.
Even when people try to debunk them.
It's like we need to believe in something.
Yeah, maybe it's just part of being human.
This need for explanations.
Right.
Even if they're not real.
Maybe it's about trying to find order in the chaos.
So maybe secret societies aren't actually running the world, but the fact that we keep thinking about them, the fact that we're so fascinated by them.
It says something about us, doesn't it?
Yeah, like what are we really afraid of?
What are we really looking for?
Is it just about power?
Maybe. Or maybe it's about the unknown.
All the things we can't control.
The things that happen behind closed doors.
Yeah, the decisions that get made that affect all of us.
Yeah, and we don't even know who's making them sometimes.
Right, it makes you think about transparency.
It does.
Accountability, like who's really in charge.
Big questions, right.
And even in this age of information, we still don't have all the answers.
We don't. There are still mysteries out there.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of the appeal.
Maybe. It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to solve the puzzle.
Even if there isn't really a solution.
Right, even if there isn't a grand conspiracy.
Just the act of exploring these ideas.
It can be fun.
Yeah.
It makes you think.
So, okay, we've thrown a lot of information at our listeners today.
We have.
What would you say to them now?
Well, I would say keep an open mind.
Okay.
But don't just believe everything you hear.
Right.
Question everything.
Be skeptical.
Exactly.
Do your own research.
And remember, information is power.
Yeah, the power to think for yourself.
That's the most important thing.
Well said.
Thank you.
So, to all of you listening out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and as always, stay curious.
Stay curious.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.